exam this week. The in-class portion. Friday. Oh. Portion. One person's already turned it in. Take home portion is right here. Only. Outline, practice problem. And those are previous recordings, so that if something didn't record here, then at least I have last year's. Questions on the in-person portions. That looks very similar to the outline. So the review for the outline, it kind of gives you an outline, I guess. It doesn't really say any problems, just what you need to know. The exam will be in two parts. Part of it's in class on Friday. The other part is due by Sunday night. The in-class portion, no computer, no phone, no iWatches. All you need is a calculator and pencils. You want to study your homework from chapters 6 through 10 and the group assignments. Be able to read and draw graphs, explain the slope, the y-intercept for a linear line, just like you did on your project, although only half of the people turned it in. That was a 100-point project in a 40% range. It dropped grades from high A's to low B's. So please, I don't know who's missing it. It may not be anyone in here, but hopefully if it isn't, they're watching the video to get it done. Anyways, the trend line on that, it's similar to that. Electric bill, things like that. Knowing if it's linear or exponential, be able to write an exponential or linear equation depending on the problem. Electric bill, tax table, compounded growth, credit card, savings account. So everything we've learned since the last test is on there. Some of it's on the in-class and some of it's on the take-home. The portions that are on the take-home are similar to this outline, which on Blackboard, it says practice problems for in-class. The first one, there will be a picture of a box plot. And you'll have to tell me different items on it. So if we look at this box plot, what is the median? The median is the middle bar that's inside the box, and in this case it's 17. The median is also what percentile? So the median is the 50th percentile.
So would we put that exact?
Whoops, I put 500. I might, instead of ask for median, I might ask what's the 50th percentile.
Just know
Yeah, just know they're the same thing. How do you find the range? Anyone?
that your highest buyers.
Mm-hmm. 35 minus 5. So it would be 30. Any questions so far? Yeah.
The highest is 30.
Oh, shoot, sorry. You're right. It should be the number, not what your graph is. This one was right though, 5. Yeah. Well, actually 35 is just, they were counting by 5s. It wasn't actually a value. I was just, when I do mine, I usually have my first and last right there. So make sure you look at the problem properly. Was that 17? 27. Any questions on the range? It's just be careful that you're taking the largest value, not what's on the chart. The 32 and the 5. What's the 75th percentile? Because 75% of the data would be below it. So this is our lower quartile. This is the upper quartile. This is the median. Smallest number and largest. I think on the take home, there's a problem where you find the 5-number summary. That's the 5-number summary. So for a box plot, it breaks it into 25% or quarters. Notice the lower quartile has 25% of the data below it. So it is QL is the same as the 25th percentile. QU 25, 25, and 25 makes 75, so it's the 75th percentile. And on our chart, the 75th would be 20. And the 25th would be the 10. And that's why the median was the 50th percentile, because 50% is below it. So I will either say lower quartile or 25th percentile, upper quartile or 75th percentile. Any questions on that? Okay. This is points scored per during a game, but it says what percent of players scored above 10? Because this is where the 10 is. 10 is right here. 25, 25, and 25. 75% scored above What percent scored below 17? How much? 50. Because here's the 17, and there's 25 and 25. So there'll be a box plot given, and I'll ask questions. Any questions on it? Yeah.
So we have to draw a box.
I believe that's on the take home, but not on the ink copy. Yeah. On the take home, number 4, graph a box and whiskers. So I thought it was important, but I didn't put it on the in class. Any questions on it? The average on the exam was 84 with a standard deviation of 5. Draw a bell shape or normal curve with the percent of students scored below 79 on the, what percent of the students scored below 79? What is the 15.8th percentile? So if you're asked how many scored above or below a value, that value should be down here then. If it's not, you did something wrong. First thing, the percents under the curve are always the same. Memorize them. Middle, and we go 3. The 2 in the middle are 34.1. $13.6. $0.1. And 1/10. So those percents will always be the same. You need to memorize them. And they said the mean problem, it said the mean was 84 with a standard deviation of 5. 5 are the units you count by. The mean is the value that starts in the middle. So the mean goes in the middle and you count by 5. So 84 and 5 is 89, another 5, 4, and then another 5, 99. Going the other way, you subtract. 79 minus 5 is 74, minus 5 is 60. states, what percent of students scored above 79? Seventy-nine is there. If it wasn't there, you did something wrong. Above 79 would be here. So we would add all those percents from 79 over. Oh, it said below. Well, this one's above, no one's below. So if it says above, you do all the ones above it. If it says below, we would do what was below. I don't remember on the test, it might be above or below, so we'll try. 0.91. This one would be 84% if you add all of those up. This one would be 15.8% below. Questions on that? The 15.8 percentile. Well, we already found that 15.8% are below 79, so 79 is the 15.8 percentile. It's given. Standard deviation is 5. Because they're leaving room for outliers. Your book uses this one. There's 3 different versions. One of them does add to 100, but this one does not. It's 13.6. It should add to 99.8. They're leaving 0.1 and 0.1. But a lot of them, they don't have the 0.1s here. And then this is 2.5. This is 13.5. And this is 0.035, something like that. And it adds up to 100. I don't know why this. Any questions?
One M1623.
Percent.
So is that just anything below 79? That be the answer?
For the 15.8th percentile, it is whatever number has 15.8% below it. And in this one, we found that 79 has 15.8% below it, so 79 is a 15.8 percentile. If we didn't do that, you would just start down here and keep adding until you get whatever percentile they wanted. So if we wanted the 84th percentile, then we would add these two. While we don't have it yet, add another one, and that's only the 15.8. Add another one, almost there. Add this one, and we get 84. So you just keep adding, starting below it, till you hit that percentage. And that would be at 89. If we did 84th percentile. So whatever percentile you're given, start at the bottom and keep adding until you get it. Once you get it, then it's that fast. So you will, I'll have the curve just like it is up there, and you'll have to put all the numbers in it and answer a couple questions.
Will the percentile always land perfectly?
Yeah, I will make sure it lands perfectly.
But what I'm saying-
It does, like if we ask the probability of 79, you can't ask it just a value. It's either above or below. So if 79 is here, these percents are all below it.
No, what I'm saying is if 79 is a 15.8 percentile, saying that below 79 is 15.8%. That's
Mhm.
also including 79 itself, which. You understand what I'm saying?
I think at any point it does not exist on a normal curve. So we're talking about below 79, the percent below it is 15.8, which means that the 15.8th percentile is 79. Like it's not counting that unit, it's talking about below or above. You're never counting that exact value. With a normal curve, you cannot find an exact value. You can only find above, below, or between. Any other questions on that? It seems to be the one that troubles people the most. But the other thing is, you don't always memorize your percent, so make sure you memorize them. Don't use that chat IA or AI, because I don't know which normal curve it's going to give you. It gave me two of them, and it wasn't the one we're using, so I don't know. We've been playing with it at home because my daughter's using it in her education class. My son he's a media manager at Boardman, and they've been playing around with it. So I tried it. Oh, and if you go to Chegg and put the take-home problem, there's a lot of notes in there that I've written, so make sure you look at them because some of the problems are technically wrong. And it'll say this part isn't correct, go see Mrs. J. So if you are using Chegg, please double check. All right. I put what chapters each of these came from. That way, if you wanted to go back and look at the homework problems from those and look at those those types of problems, it'll help you. All right. This one is on the in-class, so electric bill. It always gives you your person, so the Rock WWF Federal Plaza. This is his meter readings. Think of it like your car, the miles on your car. It doesn't start over each month. So if we want to find out how many kilowatt hours Dwayne's bill is, what do we have to do? Subtract them. Just like you would if you wanted to see how many miles you drove last week. You would subtract what you have now, what you had then. We need to subtract these. When we subtract them, to get 1,400. Any questions? Now it's up to you if you want to use X and Y or C for cost and K for kilowatt hours. But it is a linear equation and we use the cost. Notice the first one, there's a surcharge. And it doesn't matter how much electricity you use, it's going to cost $12.52. The other ones are multiplied by kilowatt hours. Those create your slope. So remember, for a straight line, we need to find the slope and the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the fixed cost. It's not multiplied times kilowatt hours. So that's your 1252. So y is monthly cost and X is kilowatt hours. I'll rewrite it with a C and a K also in case that's what you wanted to do. Your slope. Your slope is multiplied by kilowatt hours. X is kilowatt hours, slope is being multiplied times it. So you want to add these. It's not going to let me just highlight this part. But you want to add these. And that will get you your slope. 0.10, 0.14, 0.06, and 0.2. So this one's 20, 40, 50, 0.5. I just subtracted them. Right here. That's okay. Oops. Any questions on that? Questions on getting these values? Now, if you want to use C and K, this is cost. Just kilowatt hours. Either one is fine. Any questions on it? Yep.
Why is it so? Why is it 25?
The slope is multiplied by the kilowatt hours, and these four are multiplied times kilowatt hours. Like distribution is 10 cents per kilowatt hour, transmission's 14 cents, renewable energies $0.06, and supply charge 20 cents. All of those are per kilowatt hour, so they get added together. Letting me- They changed the things around. There were easier ones, but anyways, so we added these four together. That got us the 0.5. Y or C? Which one do you want to use? Anyone have a preference? Okay. Any other questions on getting the equation? So this one, I just added the ones that are times kilowatt hours. This one was not times it, it's just a fixed fee. Slope is the one, the M, it's attached to the X. When explaining the slope, because it's not a whole dollar, I would probably round it to 50, or not round it, but make it 50 cents. But you could also say $half. But the slope is attached to the X, it's the M. When you're explaining it, Y is cost, in this case cents. X is kilowatt hours. It's your change in Y over your change in X. Each additional kilowatt hour costs additional 50 cents. So your X goes up by 1, and then your Y goes up or down. This is positive, so it's up by 50 cents. You could say it increased by 50 cents or half of a dollar. Any questions on that? The y-intercept is your B. The value when X is 0. X is kilowatt hours. So if no kilowatt hours are used, think about it. If we put 0 in here, this drops out. The cost is $12.52. So your X is 0, whatever it is, there's none of it. So no kilowatt hours. Then in this case, cost is $12.52. Any questions? How do we find out Dwayne's cost? Well, now we have the equation. We know how many kilowatt hours he used, 1,400. You take the 1,400 and you plug it in for X or Y, which one? What was it? Cost is Y, but that's what we're looking for, right? This is the kilowatt hours. So there's 1,400 kilowatt hours that needs to go in for K or X. Because X is kilowatt hours. We want to know what the cost is. $712. 52 cents. Any questions on that one? This one probably takes the longest on the test. Any questions? Answer questions below using the tax chart. Some values may differ from the book since this is a 2018 tax chart. I might use a different one, but it will still be set up the same. If Fred makes 80,000 this year, how much will he pay in taxes? First thing you want to do is decide which tax bracket he's in. So he has 80,000. Look at the first column and see where 80,000 fits in. Third one, the 22%. Because 80,000 is between these two values. It's the third bracket, or the 22%. Then you just read the row and pretty much do what it says. So we know it's $453.50. Plus 22%, written as a decimal, times the amount over 38,700. So this 4,400, this was, they figured out the first two rows for you already. So you don't have to do the last row. $4,453.50 plus 22% of the amount over 38,700. So we need to subtract these to take out the 38,700. $1,539. Any questions? Yeah.
How do the tax return work? Like, you pay that in taxes and how, equivalent to how much did you get back?
So each paycheck, they take so much money out.
Yeah.
Maybe you ended up paying 14,000. It came out of your paycheck. Then what happens is you find out how much you needed to pay, and if you paid over, you get money back. If you paid under, then you have to pay it. So if they had taken 14,000 out, then you would just subtract these. And whatever this is, you get back. If you only paid 13,000, then you still owe $539.50. So when you do it, like when you do your taxes, they'll ask you, your last statement should show how much you paid, and then they will subtract them and see if you owe or not. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
My mom texted me yesterday. I still haven't done hers, mine, my son's, or my niece's. We can have 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I think. I think it's the 18th this year. But any other questions on that? TurboTax is a good one. I used to fill out the papers, but there's so many new things every time. And any questions? As a student, if you kept your books and paper and everything, that's all written off. Yours isn't written off unless you're kindergarten through 12th grade. Student, you can write them off. Okay, so there is a scatter plot, but it's not on the in-class, it's on the take-home. So if you have questions, we'll look at the take-home one on Wednesday. And that was really the only thing from chapter 8. So then chapter 9. This first one is just a question. And then on the test, it's either 2 or 3. There's not both of them, there's only one. So this is one question, and then between these two, it's another. What's the difference between linear and exponential growth or decay? Growth or decay, it's either a positive or a negative. But how do we know if it's linear or exponential? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a compounded amount, so it's a growing, your interest is making interest off of it. Yeah, the amount that you're making your percent on, rather than staying the same growth every time, a percent grows exponentially. So what you could say is linear grows by the same amount each time, where exponential grows by a percent. Now, simple interest is linear. It's growing by the same amount every time. But for almost everything we're talking about, if you put percent, then that's fine. So linear grows by the same amount each time. Grows or decreases. It doesn't, either one's fine. That's an exact question that's on the test. And it can be grows or decreases, it doesn't matter. Any questions? Number 2, you deposit $500 into an account and make $20 interest per year. Write the equation for the amount after, and you don't have to use T, you can use X, it doesn't matter to me, but after T years. So we're depositing $500 into an account and we make $20 interest every year. Linear or exponential? We're making $20 per year. It's not a percent, so it can't be exponential.
So any percent, it's exponential, right?
For our course, at least. But it's growing by $20 each year, which is the same amount, which means it's linear. Linear, y equals mx plus b. So y is the amount in the account, x is the time, years. Write the equation. Where does the 20 go? Is it the slope or the y-intercept? Because it's $20 per year, so it's a rate. X is years, 20 per year. And we started with 500. No, so we plug 0 in, starting with times 0. If we put 0, this drops out. We started with $500. B is your fixed rate, your fixed cost starting amount. Any questions? How much is in the account after 13 years? Years is X. You get $1,234 and change. Any questions on that? Oh, wait, I looked at the other answer. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's for part 3, sorry. I guess I'm rushing. 760 even. So on the next one, you should be getting $1,234 and I thought it seemed too high. Any questions on it? So this one was linear, which means we know the next one's exponential, and that's why there's only one of them on the text, so that means I know that. Now this is increasing, so it's the 1 plus trick. If it were decreasing, you could use the 1 minus trick. But it is a percent, 7.2% interest per year. Well, that's what made it exponential. Our initial amount rate was 7.2. 7.2% as a decimal. Or no, 7.2. And then you could use T for time. You could use X, Y, whatever you wanted for your exponent. But it is time. Any questions on the equation? Find how much is there for 13 years. Plus 13 and for time. I added inside the parentheses, but you didn't have to. And you should get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any questions? When Joe's bill comes in December, the balance is $800. He decides to make monthly payments of $100 for December, January, and February. Then he will see what he owes and maybe try to pay it off in March. The monthly rate on his credit card is 9.3%. Fill in the table below. Round to the nearest cent. How much will he need to pay it off in March? Credit card. I put that in there so that you don't pay interest the first year you pay it off. Instead of paying it off, making $100 payment. So what is the next balance? Let me write it out. The reason it's 700. He paid $100 on it and no interest. So 800 minus 100 plus 0, 700. Was it December? Now you need to find the interest, and it was 9.3%, which is what as a decimal?
0.093.
To find the interest, we take 0.093 times 700. Because 9.3% of 700 means to multiply. Get 6510?
Yep.
When this January statement is going to come, it's going to say a balance of $700 plus $65.10 interest. And then you decide how much you want to pay on it. Like that one says 100 each time. $700 minus 100 plus 6510. 665.10. A lot of times when you make only the minimum payment, whatever that minimum payment is, your interest could be higher than that and it's gonna grow instead of decrease. Although this isn't decreasing by much, but. Mhm.
The 10% that-
Mm, No, he's gonna see what happens in March. So he's gonna pay these three and then see what happens, how much he is. So he made a payment for the end of December, January, and February. In March, he'd like to pay it off. To pay it off, he has to pay the balance and the new interest. So we need $685.26 to pay it off. Maybe he did his taxes early and he has it now and can pay it. Any questions on that? Any questions? This last part is combined as one problem. Whatever the rate is here, you'll find it compounded monthly and continuously. The formulas will be given. The peak, you can have it down here or you can put it up here. Either one is fine. You're buying a home for $180,000 and taking a loan on the entire amount. If annual interest is 6.5%, answer the questions that follow using the formula. For a 30-year mortgage, find the payments. For the first one, to find the payments, you just plug it in here. What's P? It's the amount of the loan, in this case, the principal, which is $180,000. I'm gonna put it on top because then I have more space. What is R? Uh-huh, and 6.5% as a decimal.
0.065.
So R is 0.065 divided by the 12, then 1 minus, 1 plus, 0.065 divided by 12, and then in the exponent, negative 12 times the number of years, which was 30. Or you could just put a negative 360, make it easier. 12 times 30. If you are entering that all at once, unless you have a fraction bar, this has to be in parentheses. Otherwise, it will only divide by 1 and then it will subtract all of this. But if you have the fraction bar, you don't need to do that. A TI-84 does a fraction. Yours does a fraction bar, but I don't know how. You're getting $1,137.72. So if you want a loan for 180,000 and it's 6.5% interest rate, it's going to cost you $1,137 a month.
That's for 30 years.
30 years.
What powers are
Here?
negative 360?
Yeah, negative 360. It was 12 times the number of years. Is everyone getting 1,100 and some? Total pay. To find the total pay, you take your payments times 12, because it's monthly, times the number of years. End of 30 years, you will have paid over $409,000. What you want to do, and it's easier said than done, because I bought my grandmother's house. So, and I actually have 5 more months on it, but, it was interest free. But my first house wasn't. When you get your taxes back, if you have enough, make a double payment and you'll cut 10 years off. Is everyone getting 409,000? How much interest? To find the interest, this is what you paid for the house. You only borrowed 180. So everything else was interest. $229,000, and you can buy another house. Any questions on that? So on the test, this one, you'll have to do that, and then you'll find the effective rate, probably monthly and quarterly. I mean, not quarterly, monthly and continuously. I think it's just monthly and continuously. But I know you have to use both equations. But is there any questions on the first part? And the equations, just like they are here, you'll see it like that. Oops. Okay. The formulas for effective rate are those two value things. Find the effective rate for 6.5% for each compounding below. This is compounded amounts. The other one, e to the r minus 1, is continuous. I don't know that anything does continuous compounding anymore. Maybe a loan, but definitely not interest. So if it's compounded amount, daily, quarterly, monthly, yearly, that's that one. If it's compounded continuously, it's this one. R is your rate as a decimal. And C is the number of compoundings in a year. So the effective rate, if it's compounded monthly, 1 plus our rate, which was 0.5, so 0.065, please. So when you, did I say what to round it to? I don't think I wrote on here. We'll round. Yeah, let's go 2 decimal places. Round percent to the 100th. So the first thing you want to do is calculate it. Your answer should be close to the 6.5. Rule of thumb, you should always go 1 decimal place further than your data. 6.5 means we should at least go 1 more. But when I calculate this, I get 0.066971885. I don't need to go that far, but you want to be careful. Don't round first and get 0.07. Make it a percent. Multiply it by 100, which moves it over 2, then round. So this would be 6 point, that's going to round to a 0, so 6.70. Compounding 6.5% monthly is approximately 6.7 per year. How many times a year is quarterly? So it's the same problem, only your C's are 4s.
For 0.7. Or does it have to be 0 since it rounded from a 9?
You can put 6.7. I prefer 6.7 and 6.70, same thing. It's just, this way I know you were rounding 2 decimal places.
Yeah, I usually show the line above it.
So then it has it anyway. But yeah, 6.7% is the same thing. Now this one's going to be a little smaller than the 6.7 because it's only compounding quarterly 4 times in a year, where this is compounding every single month 12 times. So this should be a little smaller. But it's still going to be 6 point something and greater than the 6.5. 0.06660168. Make it a percent. Round to here, 6.66. So the effective rate is 6.66. Any questions on that? The last one's continuously, so it uses the other formula. And E is a function in your calculator. It's next to or above your LN button. You have to hit shift and your LN button. And again, it will be similar to the other two, but it is a little larger than monthly. Make it a percent. 100. A little bit quicker or a little bit more than monthly. Any questions? Did everyone find the E in their calculator? You want the E to the X, not just an E. When you hit the E to the X button, it will put a caret in the parentheses, 0.065, close the parentheses and subtract. Or TI-84, when you hit the E to the X, it actually goes up to the exponent. And then you have to press the right arrow to go back down. So the nice thing about it, it looks exactly like. That is all you will see on Friday.
We'll be going over, so Wednesday we're going over a couple other on the take-home portion?
So look over first look over this. Anything you have a question, we'll do another problem on the in class. If you don't have questions, then you can work on the speak home and I will help you.
Right there.
Yeah. You want to hit the for your E to the X button, it's for the L one. We have to then put your percent to 5.
This is this instead of,
Yeah, that would be easier.
so it'll be 6 instead of.
So what you can do is multiply by 100. That's 6.72. We wanted to go 2 decimals.
Oh, so you gotta multiply it by.
Yeah, like, that's what, when I move it over to the right,
Basic question.
that's the same as multiplying by 100. So if you don't have any questions, you can, I don't know where the change is, but make sure you mark it. I'll see you on Wednesday. But if you have questions, I can.
What you said, would you be better for it to debate?
But I mentioned them.
I know. Yeah.
Before, do that, but they sign me in for another part. Are you free? Monday before last. Okay, so 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. In my office.
problem, sorry. So,
Good luck. Thanks. Yeah. You can click on it and then it'll have notes of what you missed and. What did your question?
Just like.
I didn't take off as long as I got it before today.
Yeah, I got it. I submitted it.
Okay.
Right. And then I went to before the one from last time, so I totally forgot about it.
But you did your responses, right?
Not all of them. I gotta do some.
Okay. When you finish your responses, send me an email and I'll go back to and record it.
Because when you said, people who submitted went from like the high end videos, like,
Problems like when I did the scatter plot and then I had my trend line in the R square. Now when I upload, when I put on Blackboard, it just all came on for some reason.
Oh, wow.
Then I redone the bar graph again because they said the bar graph didn't show up. So I redone it. It showed up, but scatter plot.
I saw it. Yeah. I saw it. It didn't have 25 points, but I think it's there.
What the R square?
I don't remember if the R squared was there, but I know the graph was there.
The graph, yeah, the graph, the scatter plot.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
talking about the equation thing. I
The
had on.
equation, but you still had the equation in the problem, right? Didn't you write about it? So
Mhm.
then that's,
Oh, that was fine. Okay.
I think the biggest thing was you didn't have 25 points.
Oh, that was the problem. Like, I should have like did like the days instead of 5 months.
Mine's is still better. It's just you needed 25 people to respond and I think only 10
Yeah,
people
only 10
responded.
on that survey thing, that's why.
Well,
So if I had problems with the in-home, the take-home exam, we're gonna go over it Wednesday?
So try it ahead of time so you know where you have questions and we'll do those.
Okay, cause I think it's the STEM, the box with your thing.
Okay.
That's the one I'm having problems with.
Oh, that's not too bad. I'm sure other people have questions on it, but.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.